If an object's traveling at a constant speed or velocity, it's quite easy to find out how far it goes. We can just use speed equals distance divided by time, or average velocity equals displacement divided by time. But it's more difficult if an object is accelerating. So we're going to look at an example of where we try and find a displacement of an object that is accelerating. So let's give an example. Say we have an object whose initial velocity is 10 meters per second. Final velocity v is 20 meters per second, and the time it takes to accelerate from u to v we're going to give as 4 seconds. Okay, now we can't do speed equals distance divided by time here and use user speed because it only travels at 10 meters per second at the start. We can't use 20 meters per second because it only does that at the very end. So in this case, we have to use a different equation. Now we have two equations that we can use one after another to work this out. And we can use average velocity equals u plus v divided by 2. So it wouldn't be fair to use 10, it wouldn't be fair to use 20. But what we can do is we can take an average of those two numbers and use that as the average velocity for the journey. And that will give us an average velocity of 15 meters per second. We then have our other equation, which is that the average velocity is equal to the displacement, which we're trying to find out, divided by time. Now, if we rearrange that, we get that the displacement is just that average velocity multiplied by time, which in this case is just 15 times 4, which will give us 60, and displacement is just distance, but with a direction, so we need our unit of meters in there. Now, that's doing it in two steps using one equation and then another. But what we can do is we can just combine those two together, because if we start with this one and say that displacement is the average velocity times time, we can just replace the average velocity with this here, okay, u plus v divided by 2. And then multiply that by t at the end. This is a very useful equation for working out the displacement of objects where the acceleration is constant. So let's see how that equation works in just one step then. So we're trying to find the displacement here, s. So displacement is equal to the average velocity times time. So if we just put in all our numbers all at once, so 10 plus 20 divided by 2 times the time, 4. So displacement is equal to 30 divided by 2 times 4, which is just 15 times 4, which is 60. Exactly the same as using the two equations separately, but much easier and quicker.